it would probably behoove the next press secretary to be a lot more like now Attorney General Todd Blanche, Homeland Security Secretary Mark-Wayne Mullen, and the kind of individuals who walk into the room and to under-promise and over-deliver. Because that, right here and right now, is what Attorney General Todd Blanche is doing. He's not getting up to the podium and saying, this is what everything is like, and I promise these things are going on, and eventually we're going to fight them, probably, maybe. Todd Blanche doesn't do that. Todd Blanche will tell you after the indictments are there, after the arrests are present, what the Department of Justice is going to do about it. And that's rather important. This announcement from the Department of Justice today is one of the most insane stories I've seen in a while. And it's very easy for a show host to get up in front of you and say, wow, this story is insane. Click like and subscribe. No, I don't mean it in, you'll understand. At first, you're thinking, well, 13 arrests, who cares? I mean, 13 arrests, what? Did they steal tons of money? Well, these people made some money, but that's not the point of the story. I'll let the Attorney General, Todd Blanche, make his case.
Today, we are announcing the arrests and unsealing of an indictment out of the Southern District of New York, charging 11 individuals for allegedly overseeing an extensive, decade-long marriage fraud scheme involving more than 1,000 sham marriages between Chinese nationals and United States citizens, and then the submission of fraudulent applications for green cards. This is one of the largest marriage fraud prosecutions in United States history. This scheme was not a quick fly-by-night operation, but rather a years-long, multi-million-dollar cottage industry to criminally assist people who would not or legally could not otherwise become citizens of the United States. The men and women who facilitated this scheme were all naturalized citizens originally from China and one green card holder. Under President Trump's leadership, the Department of Justice is working alongside our partners at DHS to secure the border and protect American communities, something that was ignored during the last administration.
So, right up front here, 13 arrests who helped over 1,000 individuals, 1,000 individuals, participate in immigration fraud, marriage fraud, and other forms of fraud here in the United States. And I've been following this story this afternoon. Ali Bradley over at News Nation has done a really good write-up so far on this. This story is bonkers. Again, you were told this wasn't happening. There is no fraud, and we need to make immigration super duper easy and just like unlock the revolving door and have it spinning all the time. Federal prosecutors dismantling over a network of, again, a false marriage organization, 1,000 sham marriages, primarily for Chinese nationals seeking U.S. immigration status. According to the newly unsealed indictment, 11 defendants originally operated the multi-million-dollar network from at least 2016 through July of 2026. Now, again, there are now 13 that have been arrested, 2 others in connection with these 11 defendants. Some foreign nationals paid up to $100,000 per sham marriage to obtain lawful permanent resident status. That's the idea, right? You have a marriage, and then that immigrant gets to come into the United States and they get to stay. While it was principally based in New York City, prosecutors say the network arranged fraudulent marriages across the United States and overseas, including in Connecticut, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Vanuatu, and China. It included facilitators who found foreign national customers, recruiters or groomers who located willing U.S. citizens. There are now some questions as to how willing some of those individuals were, and assistants who prepared immigration paperwork. So that's a whole group of people who are also committing flagrant immigration fraud on top of this. Prosecutors say the scheme also relied on marriage officiants. And, oh, do we have pictures? You bet we do. Marriage officiants, attorneys, tax preparers, insurance providers, and other service providers and officiaries. So those who carried it from point A to point B, those who brought over the documents, reworded things, that kind of a thing. And yeah, that's really, really, really bad. So you can see the foreign national on the left, Anthony Cheng in the center, Erica Johnson on the right, in a sham marriage ceremony on or about January 15th, 2025. That's according to the document and the indictment. Sigrid Centino on the left, Anthony Cheng in the center, another marriage ceremony. Pastors in their lovely frocks and their Reebok sneakers, my favorite. Anywho, And then a foreign national on the right, not supposed to be here. And a marriage ceremony on or about December 17th, 2024. She gets the money and he gets to be here. He gets to bypass a lot of the immigration process in order to do so. And it gets worse, according to, again, the summary by Ali Bradley over on how it worked. According to some of these prosecutors, some of these couples met for the very first time immediately before getting their marriage license. Participants allegedly staged wedding ceremonies and photographs. Again, you can see these kinds of things right here. They staged wedding banquets, like fake wedding banquets, in order to make the marriages appear more legitimate. Joint bank and utility accounts, joint tax returns, insurance policies, additional stage photos. Before I send the radio crew over to the commercial break, I have to also mention there are now 2 insurance companies who are now also under investigation by the Department of Justice for knowing something about this and doing absolutely nothing. Shocker. Radio crew, we got to send you to the commercial break. We're going to continue over here on the live stream. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal. So in the meantime, while all of this chaos is going on here, when USCIS, that's Immigration Services, interviews were required, prosecutors say the participants were coached on how to conceal the true nature of the relationships and provide false answers to immigration officers. So this isn't as though there was someone who said, hey, I want to come to this country. I know you. This isn't Phoebe Buffay marrying the gay ice skater from Canada in order to allow him to stay in the United States. That's not what this is. This is a third party, an organization who set this up. We have no idea if they were acting on behalf of Chinese government officials, if there's espionage cases involved here. Again, we've just now seen the unsealing of the indictment, the individuals that have been arrested. Of course, there was a ton of money that was made off of this, as there always is. But you have these individuals, again, like the NGOs, who are coaching these illegals through participating in this kind of fraud. And it really is from the wedding right to the birth tourism, and now marriage tourism. Yikes. The 11 defendants that were arrested this morning, and 13 by the end of today, but the 11 defendants this morning, I'm not going to pronounce their names because a lot of them have very spicy spellings, but they were in Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, Peekskill, and Ossining. And the law enforcement warrants occurred in multiple New York locations, including Sunset Park, Brooklyn, Flushing, and Queens. So each defendant is charged with conspiracy to commit marriage fraud and immigration fraud, carrying up to 5 years in prison. You and I both know, by the way, that the Southern District of New York, which is, again, overseeing some of these particular cases, we're all aware that they're just probably going to give them a slap on the wrist and then let them go. I mean, it's not like they said the N-word in Minnesota. I mean, that'll get you shucked right into, that'll get you into the hoot scow. But committing a big bunch of immigration fraud, well, I mean, hey, you probably had the right heart and mind, and all of you were pregnant and suffering from 8 kinds of cancer and quadriplegic. You know the drill. Incredible. In the meantime, New York Governor Kathy Hochul just so happens to get up in front of the press. And I know because the New York Democrats sent me a big press release. And if they're sending everyone the press release, conservatives, independents, liberals, whomever, if they're sending everyone the press release, they really want you to pay attention to this. So she also just so happens to make a big, huge public statement about how no one in New York is allowed to work with the federal law enforcement divisions. No one. So again, after this major bust by the Attorney General, Todd Blanche, Kathy Hochul's like, well, I don't know. We don't want anybody to be working with ICE or the DOJ or anybody here. That's like suspicious and concerning.
I'm proud that we signed one of the most comprehensive laws to rein in ICE in the entire country. It prohibits law enforcement agencies from having formal agreements with ICE. That means unless a crime has been committed, ICE cannot use local cops, their jails, their technology, to use local cops for civil immigration enforcement. I want to remind everybody who happens to have these in their counties or their sheriff's departments, that law goes into effect in less than 2 weeks. You have 13 days. You're on notice. 13 days to formally unwind any agreements that you've had with ICE.
I love this. So she's saying you're not allowed to. You're going to get legal actions. And Mamdani's standing behind her, and then Mamdani's like, excuse me, can I say something? Because no one has let me talk for like 5 minutes, and I'm still embarrassed from my universal childcare education program that was, totally just going to be $2 billion. And I know it's $5 billion now, and that I'm embarrassed, but I need to say something. And everyone who's here illegally is a really good person. So they have like 6 people that clap, and then Mamdani.
If I can just add one more thing to that question. New Yorkers are horrified by the actions of ICE.
Oh, no. I mean, can you imagine the federal government investigating things like immigration fraud that's clearly happening? Again, the daycare centers in New York, we're going to get to in just a second. There's a new New York Post statement on that. It ain't looking too good. Radio crew, welcome back from the commercial break. Mamdani says, guys, listen. New Yorkers are horrified, stigmatized, traumatized, schlamigmified. Who knows? I mean, we're going to have to make up brand new words for how awful it is every day to see cops doing their jobs. Ugh, the pearls.
These are actions that are ripping apart the very fabric of communities across the city and the state.
If you can't just go to New York and grab a Chinese national bride or husband, what's the point anymore? I mean, I thought this was America. If I can't go participate in a little foreign whoring, then what's the point of even living? If I can't run a South Korean daycare center, yours truly, Tony Kinnett of the Tony Kinnett cast, South Korean adult daycare operator, with the total number of individuals that just all happen to be gone sick the day that the investigators show up, then this isn't America. Did George Washington believe that little Bangladesh in New York, next to little Nepal and little Senegal, would someday suffer under the ICE tyranny? Oh, perish the thought.
There are neighborhoods today,
whole neighborhoods,
where you can feel the absence of those who do not feel as if they can leave their homes any longer.
So I walked through some of these neighborhoods when I was in New York. And do you know what I noticed first and foremost? Number one, the smell of urine, because it's New York. And that's pretty much it. There weren't like people like closing the shutters. I mean, I guess in this day and age, everyone's shutters are fake, which is another topic for another time. But like no one's like shutting the shutters, and the newspaper blows across the street. And then there's like a child in a newsboy cap whistling whenever a cop walks on the street. No, this is not a musical theater production in the 1920s.
And now if New Yorkers want a leader like the governor that we have, who can look at that cruelty and name it for what it is, then they know that the choice is Governor Hochul. Oh, if they want a leader who looks at the cruelty of ICE and sees a playbook of what to deliver at an even greater extent in New York State, then that's Bruce Blakeman.
So again, they're going after anyone in New York who actually works with federal law enforcement. The horror, the evil, the terrible. Speaking of those daycare centers, by the way, again, Todd Blanche is making it as the investigations continue, as we start to dig in, as the feds carry out their raids. This attorney general is not getting out there and getting in fistfights with Mamdani and Hochul. He's not getting in fistfights with Tim Walz or Gavin Newsom. He doesn't have to. He goes behind the doors of the DOJ. And again, in coordination with Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen and then Director Kash Patel of the FBI, and says, this is what we're going to do. And this is how we're going to get it done. And then what do you see on TV? Here are these individuals that are arrested. Here's the evidence. Here's the fraud. There you go. Bing, bang, boom. Presto, hesto. It's amazing. Wow. Look what he can do. From the New York Post, though, Kathy Hochul received $55,000 in campaign contributions, though, from social adult daycare centers in fraud-plagued Flushing and Queens, according to new records from the New York Post. Almost half of these donations can be linked to two men, local power broker Bao Li Zhang and Jiamin Sheng, who own two of Flushing's biggest daycare businesses, both of which were empty of patients when visited by the Post last week. Wow! And on the same day that Todd Blanche gets up to announce these arrests and the indictments, Kathy Hochul comes out there and goes, you know who's really bad? ICE! And then she starts yelling at the clouds. And then Mamdani gets out there to kiss her feet. If we had a leader, a strong woman like Kathy Hochul. Incredible. Oh, by the way, Zhang, aged 69, nice, personally donated $10,000 as well as another $5,000 through his Bao Kang Adult Daycare financial disclosures show, all to Kathy Hochul's campaign. Zhang's various businesses have claimed at least $32 million from Medicaid since 2018 on behalf of tens of thousands of patients who are never there when anyone shows up to say, hey, where are the patients? I'm expecting a nursing home. Isn't there some really over-energetic teenager singing oldies to a bunch of the inmates here at your South Korean daycare center? What's going on? Oh, they're not here. Oh, and they also, again, received $32 million from Medicaid since 2018. Your tax dollars hard at work. Medicaid and Medicare for all. Hey, good times. Again, the Department of Justice is also looking into the leadership, not just in the fraud regarding New York, not just California, but also Minnesota, because hasn't forgot about that either. This was pitched over in a question. Here was Blanche answering that today, right after the discussion kind of took some questions from the press following the marriage fraud scheme announcement. Here's his answer to that.
Well, now, since Vice President Vance referred the top Democratic leadership of Minnesota to DOJ for this type of investigation, can you talk about the status of where that stands?
Of where an investigation, the leaders of
He referred it over here. Is that something you've opened on, or you intend to, or can you just are you making progress toward that end?
We've spent a ton of resources, and we continue to spend a ton of resources in Minneapolis combating fraud, and that includes a very intense look at the leadership and the programs and who's administering them. But
hey, that's, by the way, the answer there. Is it flashy? Is it shiny and new? Is it incredibly detailed and revealing? Nope, and it shouldn't be. We're investing the resources as people in Minnesota and outside of Minnesota, because federal tax dollars are involved, are very concerned about, and we are looking. Do you see me up here in front of the podium announcing arrests? We're not done.
Beyond, and the governor knows that, and everybody knows that, and that should be the case. That's what every single person should expect us to do as the Department of Justice. But I don't have an update or comment on how that's progressing beyond the fact that, yes, we have a lot of resources spending there.
Correct. Good. Wow. Again, the doing instead of the talking, I'm here for it. This is something, by the way, that while it may not sound very flashy during the campaign stage, is extremely effective in governance. We've gotten so involved in the eternal campaigning mindset that people tend to forget that good government, the very few times that there is good government, actually comes from people getting in office and doing the work and not doing little cheerleading sessions for themselves. So again, there were two different ways the Republican Party really could go under Trump, and going towards the Todd Blanche side of things so far is a lot more effective than the other way, which is the Mike Lindell way.